profile of the NAU foreign student. Today's presentation will be done by myself, Rilind Dauti.
And I'm Riccitelli.
So for the first part of the assignment, we were asked to list 10 to 12 major costs incurred by university. We were then asked to label them as a fixed committed, a fixed discretionary, a true variable, a step variable, a sunk cost, or an opportunity cost. The first cost that we decided was a major cost was campus-wide security. Now, we believe campus-wide security is very important, and it definitely differs from year to year based on the expenses definitely differ from year to year. So we believe it's a fixed discretionary cost, meaning that changes are done in the short run and it's not all long run, and which is why I believe that it's going to vary from year to year.
The second major cost incurred by a university to have down is the salary of the faculty, teachers, and everybody working there. The first, we have to separate faculty between tenured and adjunct. Tenured meaning that you are making a commitment to that professor or that faculty for life, meaning that they have proven themselves. That would be a fixed committed cost because you're committing yourself as a long term. And then everybody else is an adjunct. That would be a step variable cost. A step variable cost is a variable cost. It varies with activity, but it's usually incurred at certain discrete points that are in larger amounts. So when that point incurs, then you will incur a larger amount at that point.
So the next cost that we believe was a major cost was food services. Now, we all know that food services is extremely important to university. Everybody gets hungry, and we got to make sure we have enough food for people. So we believe it's a true variable cost, meaning that it's based on the level of activity, which in this case, the activity would be the amount of students that the university has. So the more students would mean more food, less students would mean less food, etc.
Next cost would be maintenance and then building renovations. This is a committed cost. When you renovate a building, you're making a commitment to that building, to that cost. That will clear, and then the cost of maintenance is the same thing. Here, it's a one-time committed cost.
Our next major cost would be supplies. Now, there's two sets of supplies. So when we think about electronics and lab equipment, usually a university will purchase these to maintain for a long period of time because they're really expensive and it's not something that can be easily replaced year by year. But other materials such as chalk, pens, pencils are definitely things that are replaced yearly, and it's things that aren't very expensive to the university. But overall, we believe it's a fixed committed cost, meaning that it's for the long run, for long-term purposes instead of more towards short-term purposes.
The next cost would be library books and materials inside the library. This would be another one that could go either way, but we put down as fixed discretionary, meaning it's short term, because we believe the most materials and things inside the library are more of a short term cost. But we know how library books could be a fixed committed cost because they have been there for a while, and when you buy an old book and you're making a commitment to it, but we have it down as fixed discretionary.
Our next major cost would be advertising. Now, I strongly believe that advertising is changed year by year, and it strictly depends on the amount of applicants that Seton Hall gets yearly. So if we get a lot of applicants, then advertising expenses will be shrunk significantly. But if we don't have a lot of future applicants, then it's definitely something that they'll put more money towards, and they'll allocate more towards it. So we believe it's fixed discretionary, meaning that it's more for the short term and for the short run.
The next major cost would be scholarships and financial aid, which is clearly a discretionary cost because scholarships and financial aid are reevaluated and reassessed every year, given out every year to new students, so it would be a short-term cost, fixed discretionary.
Our next major cost would be building depreciation. And now building depreciation is definitely a sunk cost, meaning that it's already been incurred and it's something that we cannot recover. So yes, building depreciation is definitely a major cost by the university because it's money we're spending on the building and we're not getting back after the years go by.
And then the last cost that we have down is utility cost. That is a mixed cost because of everything that it entails, which could be water, heat, AC, electric, anything. So that would be a mixed cost, utilities.
So for the next part of the assignment, which is still part A, we were asked to label each of the following major costs that we had listed as a direct, an indirect, or irrelevant cost. So I'm going to start off by mentioning the direct costs that we believe are incurred by the university, and that would be campus security, food services, maintenance and building renovations, supplies, that means materials, electronics, equipment, etc., and costs to run the library, so books and everything that's included in the library.
And then indirect costs, things that are not directly connected to the product or service would be salary. We put down salaries of the faculty, advertising, the utility costs, and the sunk cost of building depreciation. And then for relevant costs, we have scholarship and financial aid.
So for the next part of the presentation, we were asked a couple of questions, and we were asked to do some research based on the questions. So the first two questions are as follows.
Okay. The first question asks us, what differentiate the revenue sources of a state university such as Rutgers from those of a university such as Seton Hall University? Well, state universities are funded almost like 100% through state government. They're very heavily funded. And private institutions, they rely on their tuition and private contributions because they do not get anything from the state government like state governments do, such as Rutgers. What differentiates SHU from Yale and Princeton in terms of revenue sources? That's number two. Ivy League schools such as Princeton and Yale, they tend to see more successful alumni, which definitely in turn gives higher private contributions, gives them more money. They can raise the tuition and create more revenue.
So the third question we were asked was, what is the current tuition both for in-state and out-of-state at Northern Arizona University? So after doing some research, I found out that the in-state tuition, including just the tuition and the fees only, is $10,358. The out-of-state, on the other hand, is a lot more expensive, and it comes out to be $23,348. Fourth question we were asked was, what is the total number of foreign students in the United States now, and how much may they be contributing to the U.S. economy? So as of the year 2013-2014, there are approximately 975,000 international students in the United States. Students from around the world who study in the United States also contribute to the America's scientific and technical research, and they bring international perspectives to the U.S. classrooms. This helps America's undergraduates for global careers and often leads to long-term business relationships and economic benefits.
Number 5 asks, are the opportunity costs for NAU similar to those for various other schools like Yale or Princeton? What accounts for those differences? The opportunity costs differ a lot from public universities than those of private universities such as Princeton and Yale. But in terms of job opportunities, that makes up for that difference in terms of private universities.
For question number 6, we were asked, what are the tangible and intangible benefits of having foreign students attend American universities? Now, there are several tangible and intangible benefits of having foreign students attend these American universities. The first thing that I mentioned are the tangible benefits, and those can include increased revenue from tuition and fees, and also an increase in diversity throughout campus. And as we all know, diversity is extremely important in colleges because it enhances the social development of the students at the university. Some intangible benefits that can be included are an increase in foreign popularity throughout the world, along with an increase in foreign student satisfaction towards the university itself. For part C of the assignment, we were asked a couple of questions, and with these questions, it was majority of them were opinion-based, and we were asked to do a little bit of research to develop our answers towards the question. So the first 3 are going to be answered by Mike, and then the final 3 will be answered by me.
And the first question of part C is, do you believe educating the international students at state-supported universities in the USA is a good investment for the university, city, state, and the nation? First, I'd like to say that I do believe that it is a good idea. It is a very rewarding process to have students from international abroad come and experience the United States culture and bring their own culture and bring diversity to the United States here, as well as provide tuition for the universities and help the economy. I think those are all very, very good things that the international students bring here. But there needs to be a standard that we can live up to. That there has to be, so they can't just be flooding students in here from international and not knowing who they are and what they're here for, actually. So I think there needs to be a standard that needs to be in place. Number 2 asks, given what you learned about cost behavior in this case, would you agree that a very large portion of costs incurred by a state university are step variable costs, sunk costs, and costs that will not change by admitting a relatively small number of foreign students? I would definitely agree that the costs incurred at a state level university would see little change by accepting a small amount of foreign exchange students. I don't see why that number of small foreign exchange students would affect the cost that much. In terms of step variable costs, a step variable cost is something that is incurred at a discrete point in large numbers. So If a small amount of foreign exchange students are coming here, that would not affect that to any degree until a number of foreign exchange students is accepted where you would have to incur that large amount, and that's where you would incur. Number 3, I asked if you think a relatively small fraction of foreign students do not add to the actual costs incurred by a state university. Would you also agree that a small number of children of undocumented immigrants will have a similar impact on the costs incurred by a state university? In terms of the question itself, I would definitely agree with that. Since the small number of foreign exchange students would not have effect on the cost would not change from the small amount of children that are accepted. I don't see any change by that. But children of undocumented immigrants are protected by the 14th Amendment, which gives them citizenship. I do not agree that they should have that citizenship by them. So those immigrants should have to wait until their parents get their citizenship before they can pursue.
So the 4th question that was asked was, are politicians correct when they insist that by paying the same amount state residents pay, foreign students as well as children of undocumented aliens add to the burden of the taxpayers? So for this question, I strongly disagree with the claim that undocumented aliens and foreign students add to the burden of taxpayers. Little do we know, immigrants, including the undocumented ones, pay a significant amount of taxes each year. A 2011 study by the Institute for Taxation and Economic Policy found that undocumented immigrants paid $11.2 billion in state and local taxes in 2010 alone, adding a significant amount of money to help state and local finances. But something to keep in mind is that even legal immigrants are barred from most social services, meaning that they pay for this benefit and they don't even receive it. So to answer the question, no, I don't believe that undocumented aliens do add to the burden of taxpayers because they're giving up so much money to benefit the state and local finances. For question 5, this question was asked a little weird, a little weirdly, but so there's definitely different interpretations towards it, and mine definitely could be interpreted in a different way than someone else. But the question was, it has been claimed that the DREAM Act is a tantamount to a stipend of $100,000 a year by those opposing the proposed legislation. Without regard to your position on immigration, comment on the figure of $100,000 per student as the amount it would cost a state university being claimed. So as I said, I'm not sure if I interpreted the question 100% correctly, but the way I interpreted it was, I believe that everyone, not only foreigners, should be entitled to a stipend of $100,000 a year. Why would it be fair to award this amount of money to immigrants but not to the citizens of the country? If this stipend is implemented, which I don't see happening at all, then it should definitely be distributed to all people and not a specific group of people. The reason why I don't see it happening is because $100,000 per person is a significant amount to pay. Now multiply that by another 100,000 people, that's a large expense. And as I mentioned before, I really don't see it happening at all. But I do accept the DREAM Act because it's good for our economy, it's good for our security, and it's good for our nation overall. So the idea of giving immigrants and undocumented aliens a chance to pursue their dreams is definitely I stand strongly for. Question 6 was, should the European who came to the Americas in droves should have self-deported themselves as a favor to the natives who lived in the land newly discovered by Caucasians? Now, this one will definitely have different opinions for, but I strongly believe that Europeans should feel as if they definitely need to self-deport themselves in favor for the natives who lived in that land. Now, at the time when the Europeans first entered the Americas, there was plenty of land for the American Indians and the Europeans to mutually share. Now, there was 2 sides to the problem. The Indians didn't mind sharing the land. They were all in for it. They liked the idea of sharing. But the Europeans were very greedy, and they wanted to take more and more land, but they didn't give anything back. So the problem ended up being that Europeans kept on increasing in size and taking more and more land from the American Indians. Little did they know is these Indians taught the Europeans how to hunt, plant, and survive in the land given to them. So the problem is these Europeans became so greedy that they started building fences to keep the Indians off land that wasn't even theirs in the first place. So I think Europeans should definitely have left the land because it wasn't theirs in the first place. If they came to America and shared the land as they were initially supposed to, the land instead of wanting to own more of it, then I would change my opinion in favor of the Europeans. But the way it all came down to be and the way it all happened, I'm in favor of the Indians, and I believe that the Europeans should definitely self-deport themselves in favor of the natives who lived on the land before the Caucasians got there. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We have sources on the last slide for you to look at. Thank you once again.
Thank you.